I want to talk about marriage, getting married. I got married in my 30s, and now I'm in my 40s now. And I want to just talk about, like, do I feel that it was worth it, or do I still think that it's something that people need to look at and reevaluate, especially as a man? I can't speak for a female, but I can only speak for a man. Getting married. If you're looking to get married as a guy, I'm gonna say this. One of the things you gotta take into consideration is your time and your space and peace. They are not all the same. Your time dictates around you being able to you doing whatever you want to do and not answering to anybody. That means you can take up how much ever time you want to get home or not go home. Um, your space, you're sharing. In most cases, you're sharing space. Uh, some men are losing closet space. Some men have a room dedicated to them. They end up losing, just depending on who's running the household. It just depends. Um, and also peace. Some of you go through situations where as though no one is around. You're able to dictate the peace, the quietness, and how you want to operate throughout your day, and you don't hear anybody's mouth. Well, that can change when you collide with two parties and one is not having a good day. They might want to start something. It just depends. It depends on who you with. If they argumentative and like to start arguments or whatnot. So that's why I want to get my perspective of just from what I went through. So I'm gonna start it from here. Basically, me having starting at age of 18, being on my own. It was my own preference. I thought it was good for me to be on my own and not go where my mom job sent her once I graduated high school. And then from that point on, that's when I started to get myself into a position where I started to understand what it's like to live by yourself, which is something I think is very good for men, especially because if you don't know what it's like to live by yourself, you don't really understand yourself. I'm gonna be real with you. Living by yourself, I know especially for men, you will learn how to start operating better when it comes to the finances and money management and things that you will and will not tolerate when you end up being with somebody and they coming in that household. Because one thing you're going to learn before you get married, like this is before you even think about marriage, having your own space and everything, how you dictate everything, it's going to be hard, but also it's going to also make you understand what it's like to operate when it comes to running a household, especially when you was on your own. So when you come with two people, it's supposed to be better, a lot easier. But as you see today, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna just say from a lot of couples that you're seeing today, it's not seeming like it's becoming easier. It seems like it's one-sided. You get married, their paycheck all of a sudden don't handle any type of bills when they were actually paying their own bills before. But when you get married, some odd reason, whoever started this trend or whoever started it, whoever we took after, felt as though that it's good for one party to take on majority of the bills while the other person pockets their money. So that's just my outlook of how you see a lot of things going today. It's probably one of the reasons why you see a lot of relationships not kind of lasting, you know. But for me, being on my own and then also getting into relationships where as though the person you dealing with end up having their own space and their place, you end up staying over there for a couple days, and then next thing you know, y'all done been together for over a year and they looking for you to move in, but you have your own space. So you sometimes start looking at that and you say to yourself, "Ooh, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I like going home, but I also like coming over here sometimes." And then you'll notice that as you start doing that more and more, remember they're still paying their rent, but you also paying your rent. But what tends to start happening is you'll start noticing that they'll start to do little things to make you want to stay longer. And then all of a sudden, can you help me on this? Can you help me on this? And then you find yourself like, oh. Some guys will end up be like, I'm a move in, or you can move in with me, depending on who's going to do what. But at the same time, that's normally how it goes. In my case, I didn't do that. I always kept my spot, and I end up finding somebody, or getting with somebody that I felt as though it was in my best interest to keep them around. And next thing you know, you evolve, and next thing you know, we started talking about moving in together. And mind you, we live at least a good 45 minutes apart from each other, but at the same time, we live in two different states. I'm in Philly, they're in Jersey, in a certain part of Jersey, and they used to come to my crib every Friday like clockwork. You know what I mean? Clockwork. And they're there. And it got to a point where as though, I didn't have a problem with that. Now, mind you, at that time, whereas though, like when you start looking at marriage, sometimes you're not even thinking about marriage. But then, as time progresses, they're there a lot, to the point where as though I feel like they live there. And then, next thing you know, we started talking about moving in together. Now, mind you, a person coming over and leaving on a Sunday, and you see them again on a Friday, and all through the weekend, even though your weekend is taken up by them, but you're doing stuff and whatnot, but you're not leaving, going to work, and then coming home to them like that. It kind of feels that way just on a Friday. And next thing you know, when you move in together, it feels good in the beginning. Sometimes it even feels good even in that first year. But then in my case, I started feeling a little different after the first year. But then I'm like, I'm tripping. And I think one of the reasons why I started feeling that way was because I used to go out a lot. And I had a nice amount of friends. And I used to have company throughout the week. So you start changing. The way you are is the way it's going to happen. It's going to actually come. How can I put it? The way you are normally and the way you operated your life, if you was outside a lot and you had company, you had a nice amount of friends coming through, that is going to change. And that can be a shock to your system. Like when I say a shock, like you eventually as time go on, you start to be like, yo, I don't know. But it's kind of in the bad. It's good that it's a shock, but it's also bad because you never really settle down. And it can be out of hand to the point your appetite is different. You can't quite focus on one person. And that's where I think my trajectory of my relationship was starting to go backwards, even though it was feeling like it was going forward. And at that time, I ended up proposing because, Mama Dukes, my mom felt as though it was in my best interest because she's like, it would be good, But at the same time, it wasn't something I was really thinking about. But at the same time, I'm like, look, man, I got to grow up. And a lot of times we are talking to doing things where as though mentally we ain't there. And a lot of us today shouldn't probably be taking that leap of doing that, because it's one of those things where as though you F around, you'll find out how difficult it can be for you to change your life up to something that you didn't even think that you ever wanted to do. Now, for some of us, it can actually alter your life to make it better, even though you know what I mean, you could probably be miserable. Life is fickle. Like, it's relationships is weird. It's weird. It's no set thing. That's why you can talk to people, even talking to people, even going to talk to talk to a psychiatrist. Not, I don't know if it's called a psychiatrist or whatever. Talk to a therapy. Go to therapy. That's what it is. Therapy. Even going to therapy. A lot of times that don't even work. I've been there, done it. And the reason why is because it's something just with you. There's a personal preference that makes a person feel comfortable to do the things they do, to wake up every day, to come home, pay bills, and to live that life. And going out on dates with the same person, looking at the same person, waking up to the same person. It's vice versa on both sides. And that's one of the things about marriage. Once I got married, it felt like didn't feel different. It felt like I probably did something to trap myself. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I think people talk about marriage like it's supposed to be something that's gonna be beneficial to you, but in actuality, it does not. It does not. I think it serves certain parties the leeway to be able to have that comfortability, to be able, I don't want to say to latch on to you, so you can't just walk away, that paperwork, but at the same time, you're seeing that it gives a person leverage, and leverage is never good to have over somebody. When you're freely, on both sides, none of you have leverage on each other. Like I heard a woman say, when you get married, a woman feels secure. And it makes you actually think, why do you feel secure? How is it that, like, on one side, the man don't feel secure, but the woman feels secure? But then when you break up and you go your separate ways, the man a lot of times do get violated. Which is probably one of the reasons why marriage is not looked at the same no more. Because if one side is able to take advantage of the one that has the most, you tell me how that's fair. On one side of the look is fair because you actually walking away from something that you never helped build. But the other side is losing, and you're like, damn, I could have stayed single for this. I was better off just living life that way because I was happier. But in my case, I didn't feel that way. I felt like I probably shouldn't have got married. I don't think I was the best husband at this. You know, I mean, I can't blame the person for feeling neglected, because I think as time go on, you realize that people make marriage more than what it is. Like they say, it's a commitment, but to be realistic with you, it's no such thing. Like that piece of paper really does give one party leverage and them access to you that should not be. And I get it. If you pass away, they're able to make decisions, but let's be realistic. We know what it's about. But out of me getting married, I end up having a son. And I tell you this, having a son is the biggest, it's like one of the biggest steps in my life that I can look at and say, man, it's a feeling that I cannot shake. And I just feel like doing that and having a kid is one of those things that a man will always look at as a big achievement. Because when you look at something that's part of you and you're raising them too, it gives you it gives you a type of feeling that you can't even explain. Like you literally would give your life for. So getting married has granted me that. But as time go on, and once that happens, you end up looking at that as, yes, I achieve greatness. It feels like you achieve greatness, but the job is not done. And the marriage still goes on. In my next video, I'm going to let you know furthermore how the marriage went or if it didn't. All right?